Hello, boys and girls. It's Mr. Yates and Ms. Garcia, and we are going to be going over the practice test for Chapter 12. This is the practice test to help you get ready for the actual chapter test on Friday. We're going to walk you through the type of answers we want to see from you and how to write those answers, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be writing your answers down for the actual test, and you're going to then be typing the answers into Microsoft Forms on the actual test. So it's good for you to kind of get an idea of how that is going to look and what you need to do for the test. And we're going to give you some really good examples. Some of them we're going to just let you try on your own. And then tomorrow we'll be going over this together so you kind of see where you did right and where you need to really try again to make sure you get the best answer on your actual test. So I'm going to start first of all with these words. Name each polygon. Determine if it appears to be regular or not regular. Now, when it says regular or not regular, that means regular means whether the sides are all the same, or not regular means, well, they're not all the same. I'd like you to write your answer sentences this way. Take a look at the shape and tell me what kind of polygon it is. It is a, make sure you count the number of sides. That'll tell you the type of polygon. And you want to look back at your previous math lessons, especially about polygons, to see if you can determine whether it's a pentagon, hexagon, octagon, or a quadrilateral, or a triangle. Please don't say triangle on this one. Now, on here, you're going to say it is the type of polygon, and then I want you to also write the answer sentence, it is, and then decide whether it's regular or not regular, depending on whether the sides are the same or not the same. Make sure you do the same thing for number 14. You're going to write the same answer sentences, and you're also going to tell me what type of polygon it is and whether it's regular or not regular. Ms. Garcia is going to go ahead and take a look at the next one here, describing the attributes of each quadrilateral.
All right, so when it says describe the attributes of each quadrilateral, and then it also wants you guys to classify the quadrilateral. So in your guys' answer sentences, you should say opposite sides are, and think back to your guys' previous math lessons, just like Mr. Yates was saying. And, you know, think back to our vocabulary, congruent, parallel, those kinds of words, to help describe the attributes of the quadrilateral. And opposite sides, as Mr. Yates is pointing out with his Christmas colors over here, the opposite sides are the ones across from one another. So like the green is going to be the left and the right, and then the red is going to be the top and the bottom ones. Just like he is highlighting for you guys right here. And then he's going to go ahead and show you guys the red ones as well. Yep. So those are going to be the two pairs that you're going to be looking at. And then when it says classify the quadrilateral, you guys are going to be using this answer sentence. It is a blank, and it wants you guys to name what type of quadrilateral it is. And you guys are going to be doing the same thing for number 16 as well.
Also, pay close attention to these. If it shows you right angles, boys and girls, mention that in your description of it. So if you see right angles, say that it's got 4 right angles. If it doesn't give you that right angle sign, you don't need to say anything about it. But make sure you note that in the describing the attributes of the quadrilateral if it does. Down further, we're going to describe the faces, edges, and vertices of each three-dimensional figure, and then we're going to identify it. Boys and girls, the faces, and I want you to make sure you write an answer sentence like this, the figure has, and then I want you to tell me the number of faces that it has. And if you remember from your previous lessons, faces are the flat parts of the shape. So I've just highlighted a face here so you can kind of get an idea of what one looks like. You want to count up all the faces. Then you want to count up the edges. And if you remember, the edges are, boys and girls, the places where two faces meet. And I just drew a line here to show you an edge right here. And here's another edge and another one. The next part is I want you to talk about the vertices. Vertices is the plural of vertex, and those are the corners. And I already drew one right here. They are the places where 3 faces meet. And you can kind of see a whole bunch right there. I want you to count up all of them and then write it here. Then the next part is I want you to tell me, now these three-dimensional shapes are both prisms, but the question is what type? Is it rectangular because it has a rectangle face? Or is it triangular because it has a triangle face? I want you to write either rectangular or triangular inside this answer sentence. And that's the first side. There is a second page, so we're going to flip that over and go to that. And the first one we're going to look at here is number 19. And Ms. Garcia, you want to just take a look at that one?
Yep. So looking at this one, it says a triangle forms the front of the I butcher it every time.
It's okay, Pantheon.
Pantheon in Rome, Italy. So that is going to be the building over here on your guys' right. It says classify the triangle based on its sides. Now, boys and girls, make sure you're looking at the sides and not the angles of it. So the key word is going to be sides. And then it wants you guys to classify it based on its angles. So for the first part, you're going to be looking at just the sides. Then for the second part of your answer, you're going to be looking at the angles of it. And your guys' answer sentence should look very similar to what Mr. Yates has. It is a blank, and that is for the part looking at its sides, and a blank triangle, and that's when you're looking at its angles. So just make sure that you guys are paying attention to those keywords in that one because it could get a little tricky. So make sure that you're reading all of the words. All right, and now on to number 20.
Okay, here we're talking about Sean. He keeps his photo in a box like the one shown. What is the volume of the box? And again, I want you to make sure that you use an answer sentence because we are going to be looking for answer sentences when you type in your answers on the actual test on Friday. So you might as well get in the habit of doing the answer sentences now so you're ready. Here the question is, what is the volume of the box? So I'm going to say the volume of the box, and I may want to put this inches cubed a little bit further down. The volume of the box is, and it's blank cubic inches. Another thing we're going to be looking for, boys and girls, is now when you type this in actually in forms, you may not be able to make it as an exponent. If you can, that's super awesome. If you can't, just put IN with a little 3, or with a 3 next to it. We'll know you were trying to put cubic inches. Or you could also write the words cubic inches if you want to do that as well too. Volume, we've just been going over this recently, but to remind you one more time, is we take the width of the width right here, or not the width, the length, and then we're going to multiply that by the width, which is front to back. And then we're going to multiply that product by the height, which is the top to the bottom. Make sure you're writing your work down so you can check it to make sure tomorrow that you've done the calculations correctly. So length times width times height. And we're going to skip number 21. That's not going to be on the test, so you won't need to worry about that. There's only one last one to do, and that is number 22. And Ms. Garcia will walk that through you.
Yes, you guys got your hopes up. You're like, oh my goodness, I only have that many problems. Plot twist, you got one more. So let's go ahead and take a look at number 22. It says, find the volume of the composite figure. Now, a composite figure, boys and girls, is just a figure where there's two shapes combined. So you will see that there is a bigger rectangular prism on the bottom and then a small cube on the top. And these together make a composite figure. So when you guys are solving this, you might, well, you're going to need to make sure that on your piece of paper, you're solving the volume for each of these. So you're going to take the length, which is for your first figure, which Mr. Yates is showing you guys for the first one on the bottom. So your length is going to be in the red, your 25, times your width, which is your front to back, which is your 9, and your height, which is your 12. You're going to find that volume. And remember, always use cubic inches for this one. And then you're going to also find the volume for your top cube right there. So, or technically that one's not a cube, but it's a rectangle, another rectangular prism. So you're going to be multiplying your length times your width times your height on this one as well. So make sure that you guys find the volume of both of those shapes, and then you add those two volumes together. And then you guys should be able to find your answer between A, B, C, or D. So that concludes the
Ms. Garcia, can I just interrupt? One thing I just wanted to add here, because I just was looking at something while you were explaining. I noticed, and we were doing this with composite volume, is that I see a width of 8 inches. I see a height here of 10 inches, but I do not see an actual measurement for this width right here, this front to back, on this rectangular prism. I'm vexed right now. So
okay. So good point. So that, since this is a composite figure, so that width is actually going to be the same as the 9 inches on the first figure. So it's actually going to be the same width for both of them because they're both the same length as one another. So both of those green parts is going to be 9 for each shape or figure. Good catch.
I'm glad we explained that, because we were talking about that in composite volume, and sometimes they're not going to show you the number of the length, width, or height. You just have to find something that looks similar to it and use that to help you. All right, boys and girls, we want you to go ahead and after this video, I want you to take the review practice test. We'll check the answers tomorrow, and then on Friday, we'll be taking the actual test. So good luck, and as always, if you have questions, well, this time, if you have questions, you can contact Mr. Yates, Ms. Garcia, or for those of you who are in Mrs. Lawrence's class, you can also email Mrs. Lawrence with questions too for help. Thank you, boys and girls.